All right. So it's recording, so just know that. We had these demos. The challenge was to put something inside of the egg using layer masks. I want to show you a couple examples of students from either this or other classes and some things to notice before we start looking at some really specific results. So the one on the left here, the person that did Gumby, I want you to notice that both the top and bottom egg, that outline or where the egg and Gumby meet is really precise. They took the time to make sure that that was sharp and accurate. These two examples over here, you might recognize elements of these in your work. The head, the floating head right here does cover the back of the egg, but it actually doesn't like overlap or go like appear to go inside the egg. It kind of just looks like it's floating. So it could kind of be floating in front of the egg or inside of it. You want to make sure that parts of your object overlap. So like here, Gumby looks like he goes all the way down to inside the egg because he's overlapping right to that edge. This one doesn't actually touch any of the edges, so the illusion's not really there. This one over here of Kanye, the person A didn't really clean the edge or make the edge meet the eggshell. It's just kind of a sharp, like where the portrait photo ended. Same with the shoulders here too. Hi, can we help? I am in the middle of a lesson. Is it something you could come back to do, or is it? Yeah, if you want to come back later. Thanks. Okay, so the corners of the shoulders here are also cut off, so that's kind of ruining the illusion as well. This it's kind of like just a photo was pasted over top of the egg. It doesn't really have any kind of interaction with the egg at all, so there's not really an illusion happening there. Here's one that I want to show you that the person kind of went above and beyond. Before we look at some of the specific things that like people in this class I saw most commonly engaged in, here's one that's like a reach for the stars thing. They carefully matched up the planet with the edge of the egg. They also added the galaxy or like a starry sky up to the top of the egg. So it's a little different than some of the other ones that have just one object filling it up, but it shows that they have a really firm grasp on how layer masks work and how overlapping and creating these illusions work. So that one really is like a cool example of how to approach this differently. These next couple slides you won't be able to see in Pear Deck because I just pulled them up from this class from some of the ones that I went over. So no shade. I'm not trying to shame anyone. I'm not using any names. I'm just using this so your classmates can learn and so I can point this out before we demo it together. Because the ones that I'm showing are representative, but they are very common. There's several people to like half the class that did some of these things. So I want to show you and then we'll demo kind of what to look for. So this one is a great example of like how to use the technique properly. Oh, sorry, my slides. If you can see, the whole image is here in the layer preview. I can see that they brought the whole image over, which is great. They used a layer mask to hide unwanted parts of that image, which is great. So that part, like 2 thumbs up. The only little piece of this that I wanted to point out is that it looks like the hair is kind of like cut in half by the egg. But if the person were really inside the egg, either that hair would kind of get hidden that's outside the edge here, or they'd want to resize so that the entire, head and hair fit inside the egg. So this is just kind of a little like technique faux pas that kind of gives away the illusion. You would want to either, again, like I said, use the layer mask to hide that bit of hair that's sticking outside the edge of the egg or resize them. This next one's representative. Again, no shade. This is like half the class did this same thing, and this is what we're really going to like drill down on today. I want you to be able to recognize what's going on first, though. So a lot of people started by making a selection in their original image. So let's say this photo had the background in it at one time. A lot of people made a selection around the object they wanted, pulled that object out of the background and into the egg. So we can see here in the layer preview that there's no photo around that. It's the same as if the background were deleted or erased. It's still destructive editing. It's just now that they've, used a layer mask to kind of clean up the edges a little bit, which is good. Like the technique, it looks like a pretty believable illusion. So my beef is not with like how it looks. It's just the technique, because I know that a lot of people in class are building this habit that's going to be really hard to shake. And when we get into our project coming up, if you're in the habit of pulling things out of the background, you're going to make your project so much harder for yourself, less realistic looking. Like there's a couple things that really I'm trying to save you from. It's like I can see the future and I can see these people are going to struggle with their project coming up. So I'm trying to really work these things out now. So what we're going to do is everybody, if you could go back in Google Classroom and check this assignment. You all should have gotten a score with feedback. If you got a 1, I didn't leave feedback because I just didn't have time. I was blowing through these. If you got a 1, that means congrats, your technique is good. you use the right tools to do it, you're set. If you got a 1, you won't have feedback. Everybody else, if you got less than a 1, I want you to really look over that feedback and see like what needs to be revised, because that's what we're going to work on with our demo today. So in Google Classroom, check this assignment. Some of you didn't give me a screenshot. Some of you didn't turn it in. So that's where I like can't give you feedback because I can't see your work. So you're just going to have to walk on with it. Quick question and then we'll do our demo. Let me fix it. So if you got your work returned to you and didn't get a score, it probably means you didn't give me a screenshot, so I can't actually see how you did it. So for those folks, if you want to turn in a screenshot and then ask me to look at it, just let me know. There is one that I need to correct real quick, and we're about to start our demo. So if you could pull up the assignment in Photoshop, everybody that did not get like a full 1. If you got a 1, help the people next to you because you know what's going on and share your brain with people. All right, I'm opening my Photoshop so we can do this demo. I also need to adjust 1 or 2 things. Let's see. Oh yeah, Parker, I just didn't return yours to you. That's why. Like I have it, I just didn't push it through. So it should be corrected right now. Jude, I just updated yours. You're a 1. Thank you. Because you showed me your screenshot. All right, so folks, I'm opening up my egg. I'm going to find another image to use for Big Bird here that will be a little bit easier to tell. Boaz, if you could turn in a screenshot that shows me your layers. I saw you just turn it in, but I can't see how you did it. So I'm going to kick that back to you. Okay. And the reason I'm being so like picky about this assignment is not because I want to be like an evil witch and make life hard for you. I promise. It's because you're going to need to understand this stuff for our project coming up in order to get results that you're proud of. So that's why I'm really trying to make sure that we correct it now. Let me open up a different image that I can use for this. All right, folks, so I'm preparing my layers here so that I can walk us through what some folks are doing, what kind of shenanigans are going on. All right, and we're recording this too. So I know some people might be like resubmitting their stuff, but everyone who did not get a 1, I really just want you to watch for a second, and then I will be here to help you kind of correct anything that you did. But most people are going to fall into this camp that I'm going to show right now. So if you could just tune in, you will probably see where we might have gone wrong. So I'm going to show you first what a lot of people are doing and what you want to avoid and why, and then I'll show you kind of the way that we want to do it. So a lot of people are like, cool, I want to put this dog inside the egg or this person or this object or whatever. They go through and make a selection. Like mine's not going to be perfect, but I made a selection around this dog. What is the next step at this point? If you don't want to venture a guess, that's okay, because probably half the class would be wrong. The thing that a lot of people did, they made a selection, they went like this. What is happening here? Where is the what? Oh, another layer, because why? Yeah, look, I'm leaving the background behind. I have just pulled the dog out of the background. Yeah, I have the dog in here. But like what happens if I realize, oh shoot, you know what? Part of the dog's ear got cut off or part of his little shirt. Like look at his shirt right here. I'm missing a button on this side. Can I bring it back? Like no, because I've pulled him out of the background. So here's what a lot of people are doing. They're going at this point, they've dragged the thing out of the background. They put a layer mask on and they're like, okay, I'm gonna hide the thing along the edge. I've got my brush with black. And they wouldn't be wrong about this part. Like this is good if they're going through. And oh, that's why this is another thing. Some people struggle with like opacity. So if your thing's not like fully transparent or fully solid, it's probably something to do with opacity. Oh, look, I'm making my other mistake. I'm painting black on my image. Check this out. Because I make my own mistakes all the time, but the point is that you got to catch them. I'm just painting black on the dog. Where did I go wrong with this part? Why am I painting black on the dog and it's not actually hiding the dog? The wrong what? What do I have to do to make it right? Oh, I have to click the white one. So remember, always check what layer you have selected exactly. So I've got to click on my layer mask and not my photo. So, okay. At this point, I think I'm good. I'm like, all right, I'm going to match up this edge of the egg with my thing, looking realistic. But then let's say at that point, I've saved it, I close it, I come back the next day, whatever. Miss Mackenzie left me some feedback that it doesn't look great and I have to redo it. And I think, oh no, I've got to bring back this part of the dog's jean jacket because it gets cut off weird. But I can go over to my layer mask and paint with white and there's nothing to bring back there because I've pulled it out of the background. There are no pixels there. That's destructive editing. I destroyed the integrity of my original image. So this one, I'm going to type, this one's called no good. I'm going to hide that one and I'm going to show you how we would start at this point using the techniques. So whether it makes more sense to you to mask your object first and then bring it in with the mask or do that part later, that's up to you. But you have to get used to hiding things like the background with masks and not pulling things out of the background. If you see this happen, something is floating away separately from its background, stop and catch yourself. So instead, everybody that got less than a 1, a lot of you probably did this, instead of doing what we did, which is pulling something out of the background, we've got to just immediately after we make our selection, click down here and make a layer mask. Now you should be able to see the whole image is there in our layer preview, but instead of pulling the dog out of the background, now the mask is hiding it. And from that point, we can bring it over. The results are going to look probably the same. So it's not going to give you a big, like, obvious sign if you did it correctly. That's why I have you turn your screenshots in so I can see and help you recognize this stuff. Because again, that's a habit that's going to follow you through your other projects and make them way harder than they need to be. So the difference here is that when I bring the dog over with a layer mask, I know it's hard to see, but I should have chosen a different image with a darker background. In the one that is the technique that we're trying to practice, the whole image is there around the dog. I haven't pulled him out of the background. Our layer mask hides the entire background, not just parts of the eggshell. That means if I realize at this point that part of the dog's vest is missing, I can click on the black and white layer mask, get my brush with white, and bring back the missing piece of his little jean jacket. And if I go too far again, I can just keep hiding it. But that's why I have you do this, because it's editable. And if you don't realize that something's gotten cut off or hidden that you wanted to keep, you can bring it back. So that's why I'm being so strict about this assignment, because you're going to need to do that probably with what's coming up. So I'm just filling in the missing pieces of his jacket, bringing those back, what got cut off with my selection. At this point then, is when I'm going to demo like the technique for getting things to look like they overlap, because some people struggled with that too. But the first thing you got to make sure you do is not pull something out of a background, but make a layer mask to hide it. So anybody that did that, you'll want to correct that real quick, just so I can see that you're kind of on the right path now. Once you've got your object brought in, the background is hidden with a layer mask, not like separated from the object. That's when, again, we're going to come in, and where a lot of people did get it right, you're going to turn down the opacity so you can see through both things. With black on my layer mask, some people struggled with this though. Again, the people that didn't really like line up the object with the edge of the egg, there's some folks that should see this too. So I've got my object over top of the egg, my layer mask, turn down my layer opacity. That's when I'm gonna come in with my paintbrush and just perfectly line up with that front edge of the eggshell. If I go too far, like here I went too far and there's some of the back of the egg showing, I'm gonna switch from black to white and bring that part that's missing back. So get used to zooming in, going slow and carefully. Your attention to detail really matters. So that bottom edge, for just a quick demo, is looking pretty good. I can turn my opacity up, see how it's looking. Good enough for now. Now I'm gonna do the top part. Again, I'm turning down my opacity so I can see the edge of the egg through the image. And I'm coming in with my brush with a sharp edge. Some people use like a fuzzy edge and then it just makes everything look blurry and not really like it's overlapping. So your brush edge still matters. And I'm just hiding my object wherever it overlaps with my eggshell, but the front of the eggshell, not the back. All right. So at this point, I go over the rest of that stuff that's showing, and I'm going to turn the opacity back up. Make sure it's good. What some people also did, and I can check in on those individuals, either the opacity of their layer isn't all the way up. So if yours looks like this, there was like a handful of people that did this. Either their object wasn't fully opaque, meaning it was transparent in some way. Just make sure that your opacity is turned all the way back up so that we can see your object fully and not like a ghost thing inside the egg. It could also be that you didn't use black or white, but you used gray when you were making your layer mask. So I'll show you what that looks like real quick. If I'm on my layer mask and I'm not using pure black or white, but instead I'm using gray, that's the same thing as telling it to be transparent. You're using like 50% black, 50% white, so it's like kind of showing and kind of hiding your image. So that's another thing to watch for. You really want to use pure black and pure white when you're doing something on a mask, unless you intentionally want it to be like partially visible. The easiest way to ensure you're using black and white, here's a shortcut that will help you with this a lot. I know you're probably not going to be able to see it super well on my tools panel, so I'm going to see if I can. Okay. So now you can see my tools a little bit better. You can see my foreground and background color. If I hit D as in dog or default, when I hit D, it switches my colors to pure black and white. Those are the default colors. If I want to switch easily between them while I'm working on a mask, I can hit X and it'll flip those colors back and forth. So D for default to reset to black and white, X to switch between them. That's going to be such a time saver working on masks. Okay, that concludes my demo of the things that I most commonly saw people struggling with this. You're going to have some time to revise if you got less than one, but also everybody, I'm going to have do just one more practice, because if you've got it, practice never hurts. If you don't got it, this is a good chance to kind of like reset